Sing, O muse of the man of twists and turns. This is how the Odyssey, one of the biggest epics in history, starts off. And his author, Homer, tells us the story of one of the two biggest heroes in the West, Odysseus, a man of as many tricks as travels. The Odyssey is a story of a man who wronged a god on his way back from Troy and was forbidden by him to return home. And on this quest, he meets as many monsters as men and women, while danger and usurpation lurked in his very house. Today, Christopher Nolan, the director behind Interstellar and Oppenheimer, is preparing to bring it to the big screen. The reaction in certain quarters has been exactly what you would expect: excitement. The trailer is arguably stunning in its technique as well as a more than polished cinematography. And yet, a bigger upset is building among those who love the original poem. Because the central question is not whether Nolan can make a beautiful film about the Odyssey. The question is whether anyone in Hollywood in 2026 still understands what the ancient world is actually about, or whether they will do to Homer what they have already done to Achilles and Alexander the Great. Christopher Nolan is without question one of the most technically gifted directors alive. He shoots on IMAX. He builds practical sets at scales no one else attempts. He constructs narratives that reward intellectual engagement. In his own words, he is a filmmaker obsessed with what he calls tactile realism. That instinct has produced Interstellar, Dunkirk, and Oppenheimer, films about real forces, gravity, war, the atom, but it may be the wrong instinct for Homer. Nolan has confirmed in interviews with both Empire and Time magazine that he is taking a realistic interpretation of Greek mythology, depicting the gods not as divine presences but as natural phenomena misunderstood by Bronze Age people. Every time that is now explained by science was one supernatural, he told Time. Lightning, thunder, earthquakes, volcanoes. People are literally seeing gods everywhere. The gods in his film, then, are not gods. They are the weather. They are psychology. They are the kind of forces a materialist mind can feel comfortable with. The problem is that this is precisely backwards. The entire moral architecture of the Odyssey depends on the gods being real. Poseidon's wrath is not a metaphor for rough seas. It is divine punishment for Odysseus blinding his son. Athena is a goddess intervening personally in human affairs because she has chosen a favorite. The poem's deepest argument, that human beings exist within a moral order larger than themselves, one that punishes hubris and rewards piety, collapses entirely if the gods are just weather. A critic at Seen and Unseen identified the problem precisely. The official poster reads, "Defy the gods." But that is the opposite of what Homer teaches and what Greeks before and after him believed. Odysseus was preferred among mortals, even by Zeus, due to his deep respect and love for the gods. The only moment Odysseus defies the gods, he does so unbeknownst to him because he didn't know the Cyclops was one of Poseidon's children. Nolan has also drawn inspiration from the 2017 translation by classicist Emily Wilson, the first woman to attempt to translate the Odyssey into English. Her opening line, "Tell me about a complicated man." Every previous major translator rendered the Greek polytropos as man of many ways or man of twists and turns. Wilson chose complicated. On another note, her focus drifts away from the hero and onto the life of Penelope, while emphasizing the role of Odysseus as a slave owner. This shift is not trivial. A complicated man is a man with problems. A man of many ways is a figure of mythic resourcefulness. The translation signals, before a single line of drama, that the poem will be read through a contemporary psychological lens rather than a Bronze Age moral one. But we have to remember, these epics were theology. Reducing that world to a sort of real-world way is not adaptation. It is a translation into a foreign language. And the language is contemporary secular materialism. Modern interpretations of Greek heroes follow a pattern. Identify the character's most celebrated traits, reframe them as pathologies, and rebuild the hero as something more relatable to a 2026 audience. By this framework, Odysseus is a liar, an adulterer, a man who got all his men killed through arrogance and poor leadership, a manipulative figure whose celebrated cunning is just deception in a bronze helmet. What this misses, and what Homer never lets you miss, is the concept of nostos, the homeward drive, and metis, cunning as wisdom, not deception. Odysseus is not clever because he enjoys tricks, He is clever because cleverness was simply gifted to him by the gods. He is also the only hero in Greek tradition who explicitly rejects becoming a god. He could stay with Calypso forever, immortal, in paradise with a goddess who loves him. But he refuses. He chooses the finite, the mortal, the difficult, the human. To a purely materialist mind, that choice is irrational. To the classical mind, it is the argument of the entire poem. The trailer then confirms the instinct. Tom Holland's Telemachus says, "My dad is coming home." The Odyssey is being sold as a family reunion story. The man who refused immortality to go home has been recast as a relatable American dad, a role Matt Damon has spent his career playing. Before Nolan releases a frame, it is worth examining what cinema has already done to the Greek heroes. In 2018, Netflix and the BBC released Troy, Fall of a City, an 8-part Iliad retelling. The most controversial decision was casting David Gayasi, a black British actor of Ghanaian descent, as Achilles, and Nigerian-born Hakeem K. Kazim as Zeus. Homer describes Achilles throughout the Iliad as golden-haired, a figure so physically specific that 25 centuries of sculptors and painters built a coherent visual tradition around him. The producers acknowledged the casting was an ideological choice. The Greek Reporter noted the controversy directly, with readers asking whether the series was rewriting Greek identity itself. Then in 2024, Netflix released Alexander, The Making of a God. 6 minutes in, a young Alexander and his friend Hephaestion are sword fighting, and 2 minutes later, they kiss. The historical record in Alexander's sexuality is clear. He was married 3 times, had at least 1 confirmed child, and the most important ancient sources of Alexander do not describe his friendship with Hephaestion in romantic terms. So running with that idea and placing that unreal relationship before a single battle, a single conquest, or a single political act tells you what the producers believe the story should be about. The pattern then becomes evident. Take a foundational figure of Western civilization, locate the aspect of his biography most convenient for contemporary progressive ideology, and stretch it so much the hero is deconstructed and distorted to serve a specific ideology. Now, Nolan's film may do the same to Achilles. According to reports that circulated on May 6 following the trailer release, transgender actor Elliot Page, formerly known as Ellen Page, is rumored to be playing Achilles. Neither Nolan nor Universal has officially confirmed the role, but the rumors have been amplified by IGN and multiple outlets, and the backlash has been global. You can't go from Brad Pitt as Achilles to a confused woman and expect an audience to take it seriously, wrote documentary filmmaker Robbie Starbuck. "You could have paid me to tank this movie and I wouldn't thought of this," said actor Kevin Sorbo. These are the heroes, and this is the systemic deconstruction being applied to them one production at a time. And there are other numbers that give us a worse scenario. Greek and Latin enrollment at American universities has dropped over 30% in the past 2 decades, according to the Modern Language Association. Fewer than 4% of top American universities require students to read any classical literature, per the American Council of Trustees and Alumni. So the generation consuming Netflix versions of these heroes often has no other frame of reference. But there is another question worth asking about why Nolan, a man who can make whatever film he wants, has made these specific choices. Since 2024, films competing for Best Picture must satisfy at least 2 of 4 Academy representation and inclusion standards as documented on the Oscars' own website. These include lead actors from underrepresented racial or ethnic groups and LGBTQ+ talent in leading creative roles. Nolan's last film, Oppenheimer, which won 7 Oscars including Best Picture, featured an almost entirely white male cast. Under the new rules, it would have never been in the competition, and The Odyssey might solve this problem for Nolan. Lupita Nyong'o as Helen satisfies the racial representation standard. Elliot Page satisfies the transgender standard. Zendaya, Travis Scott, and John Leguizamo complete the picture. Nolan has built a cast that checks every box the Academy now requires, wrapped inside the most prestigious source material in Western civilization. The ancient Greeks had a word for a beautiful offering that conceals a different agenda. They called it a Trojan horse, and Nolan might be building one himself at the expense of arguably one of the top 3 classics of the Western canon. Fortunately, The Odyssey has survived empires, languages, and centuries of adaptation, and it will survive Christopher Nolan. But the question this moment raises is larger than one film. when Achilles is rumored to be played by a trans actor to satisfy institutional requirements, when Defy the Gods is placed on a story whose lesson is that defying gods destroys you, when a hero, known for his pirate life, of his sacking of great cities, of his talent with swords, words, and many tricks is being sold as a relatable dad, something is being communicated about how the culture regards its own inheritance. Homer's heroes were different, and they were real, but fully embedded in a moral universe that's genuinely alien to us, despite having founded the Western imaginary. That is what is being replaced. Not with something better, but with something more manageable, more comfortable to the present moment. Whether Nolan's film recovers the thing being lost, that is the only question worth waiting until July 17th to answer. But we want to know your opinion on Christopher Nolan's attempt at Homer's Odyssey. Will you watch it? Let us know in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you know as soon as we drop a new video. And if you want to stay ahead of our releases, click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right now. See you in our next 10-minute brief.